What's up, everybody?
What's up, gamers? Do we look just like our new emotes?
Do you guys see the emotes, huh? Huh?
I love them. I love how we kind of look like siblings, too.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, there is that feeling. Like, if you were playing this game, you'd be like, it's a brother and sister, right?
Right? Yeah, that makes sense.
But clearly, when you look at us, you're like, there's absolutely no relation whatsoever.
Right. Probably not. What is up, everybody? How are you all doing? Welcome, early gang, to another day of daily gaming news. I am one of your hosts, Kaisa.
And I am the other host, Marrone, and we are here to bring you everything going on in the gaming industry for 1 hour, Monday through Friday, from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
So what we've got today is we're going to start with the Ubisoft Forward event that's still going on, but after that, we're going to get into Hitman news.
That is right, because they're talking about the virtual reality for Hitman, as well as PlayStation 5 has reportedly cut its price tag to match up with that Xbox Series X.
We're going to get into more Microsoft Flight Simulator news, as it will be awesome on Xbox, if not better, says the developer.
The rumors swirling around Nintendo is asking its developers to make Switch games 4K ready.
There's an update for Skull and Bones as production is in full swing, and that has been confirmed by Ubisoft.
Also going to be seeing that EA Sports is apologizing to fans after there is a big decry due to UFC's situation that we'll dive into.
Ninja is back exclusively on Twitch, and he's streaming right now with about 78,000 viewers, so we're going to get into the updates on that.
And then also, it is Thursday, so you know what that means on this day in gaming, as we will talk about that title. And periodically throughout, depending on how the Ubisoft Forward event looks, we're just going to jump over to the live, check what's going on, see if it's anything interesting, and just react to what we see.
Yeah, they've been showing a lot of games so far. The YouTube comments on the live stream have been a bit trolly, but that's also just YouTube comments. I haven't quite decided my hype meter about the things that I've seen yet on there.
So far, yeah, I know they're they're showing this game off. This is supposed to be like a new esports title that they're looking forward to. Bear with me as I pull up the stream. So I think,
yeah, it looks like an arcade style roller skate.
Yeah, maybe like a new Rocket League for me to get addicted to. What's up, Crispy?
Yes. What's up?
That's a former Rocket League teammate of mine.
Nice.
Hola, Mena, how are you?
On top of the ball here.
And then, of course, Kika, Sequazi, and everybody else.
Of course. Hello.
Look at the speed here from B. He's so far up on the wall here.
Something like this could be pretty fun.
Falls a little bit flat here on that.
Yeah, I generally like arcadey type sports games.
Yeah.
More than kind of the team-based, like in FIFA where you're controlling the whole team or something. I like when you're your own character. I've noticed a lot of the art style or graphics design of a lot of these games have looked pretty similar.
Yeah, that's very true. A lot of it has. They showed a game previously, right before we went live, that pretty much looked like Zelda.
Yes,
Breath of the Wild.
It was Zelda. Yes.
And then it was like, no, it's not Zelda, but you're like, that's a straight Breath of the Wild clone we're looking at.
And then there was another game earlier that looks kind of like Fortnite, but like a war battle with like axes and stuff. And the chat was like, is this Fortnite? Like, this isn't Fortnite.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that there's definitely like a trend of, all these, how games are being stylized right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Crispy, totally. With our chemistry that we had at Rocket League, I'm totally down to see how we could do it this game. I don't see the title, which is kind of annoying. Like, oh, you're looking at this game.
Yeah!
You just caught it live. You don't really see the title, but
the title should be on here.
Yeah. I do like this feel. This is one where I could see myself putting in a lot of time. It kind of reminds me of like the Laserdisc one that was similar to Rocket League.
Does anyone think the guy playing looks kind of like Colts from 90 Day Fiancé? Colty? Also, we love having you in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, we will tune back into the Ubisoft Forward event and jump into our first topic for the day, which is something that I am personally very excited for. And when we take a look at some of this footage and see some of the descriptions of this game, we're going to be talking about Hitman 3 with its PSVR edition coming in January of next year.
IO Interactive shares cool new ways to play when seeing the world from Agent 47's point of view. Hitman 3 in VR is all about immersion. It's about getting closer to the action than ever before and truly taking on the role of Agent 47 in the hyper-detailed sandboxes that Hitman is known for. And yes, you will be able to do hits in VR.
Yeah, this has been about a month since it was announced that PSVR is going to be supported for Hitman 3, and PlayStation is excited, so they even have a whole blog covering this. There's some footage that they have on there that they don't have on YouTube that you can check out. So with the expertise of Sizdel and Iskal from IO's VR team, they got to get more in-depth on what is going to be like with Hitman 3 in PSVR. So we're going to look at some of the cool ways that Hitman in VR will immerse you into the world of assassination.
So first and foremost is the point of view that definitely changes when you're in VR. Now you are absolutely in first person, literally seeing the world as Agent 47 would see it, which is a powerful move that they have, curated specifically for VR. It's almost like a VR view that they have rather than just a straight up first person view, because they've had to reconsider all aspects of the game and where the camera should really be in VR.
Right. So for example, they had to adjust Agent 47's height in VR to make the first-person view and taking cover work properly. They also had to adjust what parts of Agent 47's body will be detected by guards to make sure that the experience feels right in VR. And some of the footage you're seeing over to the side is the way it will look and feel when you're playing it in PSVR.
Love how they had to make the height very specific, because that's something that I first noticed whenever I put on VR goggles. Is like, oh, everyone is so much taller than me. Like, I'm not that short in real life.
Yeah,
or,
right.
Vice versa. It's always like very off-putting.
Yeah.
So there's also going to be new ways of play for Hitman VR. And in the early stages of developing for VR, the team had lots of fun, discovering new possibilities that they could take advantage of without making any changes to the actual game. The high level of fidelity and realism in the environments meant that they had new lines of sight and new places to hide almost instantly. They then started to experiment with the items in the world and how you can interact with them in satisfying ways.
So IO Interactive quickly realized that when you moved through a level holding an item, you'd leave a trail of destruction in your path, often unintentionally, because the item would attack anything that it touched, which is just hilarious when you think about it. So to avoid that, and to allow players to choose when they want to use an item to interact or attack, they added the concept of priming an item. So this allows you to freely carry an item, but also use it to attack when ready to choose to do so.
So the devs don't want you to accidentally destroy everything, but they do want to make sure that you can still affect your environment and touch things around there. Hitman games have always been built to have a living, breathing world, and when you're playing in VR, you're going to be much more up close with everything in the game, whether that's wine bottles or security guards.
And when you don't play in VR, you can bump into characters and they'll likely scold you for being clumsy. In VR, the layers of interaction actually need to be deeper, so they have actually added reactions and trigger dialogue when you tap someone on the shoulder.
They've also worked on blending in, because taking disguises has always been an integral part of playing Hitman, especially in the recent games where it's possible to blend into your surroundings and stay hidden even if you're in plain sight. Agent 47 is well versed in doing whatever is necessary to maintain his disguise, whether he's sipping a drink at a bar or cleaning a table in the kitchen.
So normally Agent 47 would play that out automatically. In VR, they're going for full immersion. So when you're cleaning tables, don't plan on relying on that automation. You can now act the part and finally live out your waiter dreams of cleaning tables in your own personal style. You'll be a master assassin and employee of the month at the same time.
I find that so funny, and the devs seem really excited to share more about Hitman VR and some examples of gameplay scenarios that you can expect. It will be possible to import Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 locations that you own into Hitman 3, essentially putting 20 plus locations from the entire trilogy in one place, and they can all be enjoyed in that VR headset.
Wow, and IO Interactive is looking forward to showing us more before Hitman 3 launches on January 20th, 2021, and honestly, I just cannot wait.
I really love the care that they have seemingly put into the VR version of the game, instead of just being like, oh yeah, this is the game, just put the VR headset on, boom, go at it. Because I know a lot of games seem to kind of do that, but they've really realized that no, to actually preserve the integrity of the game, we do have to make a lot of changes.
Yeah, IO Interactive has, as we've said before the last time we talked about Hitman, is they've always paid attention to the details of their game. And the fact like you just said, that they're jumping into VR this way and they're going to that detail. There's on that PlayStation blog, there's like this, you can tap somebody on the shoulder and they'll turn around and then you can just punch them. And just that movement and interaction, it was so fluid and it felt so immersive that when you also see the moment of like when you're standing there like working in a kitchen and you look over to the employee next to you, you still got to keep doing the movement and maintaining it to blend in. To me, that's like, there's so many different outfits to put on in Hitman levels. There's so many ways to blend in. What examples of content creation are we going to get from Hitman in VR when we get to see people doing these just almost hilarious approaches to these hits that we didn't get to see in the normal third-person view, but we get now because we're so immersed in that VR point of view?
Right. I think there's definitely an opportunity for like skits and comedy, to take place here. I think it's so funny that you're going to have to, be a waiter in VR yourself. These processes aren't automated. Also, what is up to the Crow Show?
What's up, Crow Show?
I was also going to say, totally lost my train of thought there, but this seems like it's going to be a really fun game, when it comes out. And, I'm looking forward to those clips already.
I also find it interesting because Hitman is available on PC, but you're only getting this experience in PSVR. There hasn't been an announcement for PC VR. It's likely that we will see that, but I am wondering if this push, because we also know that Hitman 3 is going to be available on PlayStation 5. Is this something we're going to see when they announce the PSVR 2? We still know that Sony hasn't announced everything with the PS5, and we're about to start talking about a little bit of the PS5 here. But I'm real curious about that choice to focus on older technology like the PSVR and create this experience that, like with the Iron Man game, supposedly a lot of people who played it were just like blown away by how actually good it was because of the tech just feels old when you look at VR headsets that are coming out now. That Hitman 3 is going to be focused on current gen PSVR.
I hope so. I hope there's going to be kind of the next level of VR that we're going to see soon, because you're right. Even though VR isn't that old, it does kind of feel old. Like when I first put on my Quest, I kind of, didn't mind that the resolution was pretty low. I was pretty forgiving, just like, oh, VR, this is so cool. But now when I put on that headset, I really do notice that difference. And, looking around the environments, it does seem very pixelated, very grainy.
Yeah.
And it does kind of detract a bit from the experience.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I think, especially since we've seen all these next gen graphics cards and, next gen consoles, and there's a lot of SSDs and 8K, games that it's about time for an update in, how VR games operate and some of that hardware as well.
Yeah. I love what Philip just said. I really want to scrub those tables. I'm curious how long, when you play Hitman 3 in VR, you can scrub tables until the game's like, what are you doing? You got a mission to do here. I'm real curious if somebody sees how long they can actually just do the job and it becomes more of like job simulator in Hitman 3 versus actually carrying out the hit.
There should be a job simulator in VR. Just live out your dreams as a waiter or something. I'm actually a big fan of restaurant games, so I would probably play it. Yeah,
there is like bartender VR. I know there is, there is a type of like a kitchen one as well. So maybe unintentionally, as they were saying, like when you drag an item and you destroy things in the world, unintentionally Hitman 3 will become this type of experience for people. But I am really excited for January 2021.
Me too. So our next topic is the PlayStation 5 price tag has reportedly been slashed by Sony to match up with the Xbox Series X and S.
So this week, we finally found out how much that we'd be paying for Microsoft's next-gen consoles, and we talked about it on the last episode of DGN. It's going to be $300 for the Xbox Series X and $500 for the Xbox Series X. Fairly reasonable, all things considered. Of course, now our attention turns to Sony and the PlayStation 5, which still lacks a price tag. Now, we've heard all sorts of rumors that Sony is struggling to keep the price of the PS5 down due to the expensive components like its cutting-edge solid-state drive. So, should we be bracing ourselves?
Perhaps not, per a new report from the usually reliable folks at Game Reactor. According to their sources, the price point Sony originally had in mind for the PS5 was considerably higher than the $300, $500 price point that Microsoft settled on for their new consoles. But thankfully, Sony has since chopped the price of the PS5 to bring it in line with the competition. Specifically, the discless PS5 will now reportedly cost $400, and the version with a disc drive will cost $500, which was spot on for my prediction, and I think our prediction. We both thought that it was going to be, $4.99.
100%, because we still have to take this with a grain of salt. It is a rumor, as we said. However, this does seem plausible. And with Microsoft's announcement, this is probably the right move for Sony. Because if we were to say, looking at Microsoft and Sony, that they were playing a game of chicken, waiting to see what price their competitor announced so they could adjust their own, it looks like Microsoft just happened to have their hand forced by leaks. And according to insiders like Jeff Grubb, both Microsoft and Sony will be selling their consoles at a loss at first. So once you already commit to that, it really isn't that big of a deal to adjust your price tag.
I think that both of their hands have been forced. These console wars seem to get kind of down and dirty that, Microsoft's price point was leaked and they're forced to announce. So now Sony is also forced to announce. And, as we said, it was like they were playing a game of chicken earlier of like, we don't want to show our cards. We want to wait for the competition to do it first before we say anything. And it seems like they both kind of lost out here.
Yeah, I'm hoping they match the monthly cost that Xbox is offering, because I still think when you look at it, it's like $500 is still a pretty steep price for a lot of people. There's if you want to go, like if you're someone like Crosha, where you're like, hey, I let people borrow games, and so I want to have the disc drive so that I can still have the disc. You're still paying after taxes $550 in any games. It's going to jump up. Right. You might be walking away spending $800 before you have everything that you need on launch day for the PS5. But if they do come out the gate and say, hey, we're going to offer that monthly cost as well, like Xbox, and you can have a PlayStation 5 with that disc drive for $40 a month or $45 a month, that is when I would say Sony wins, right? Because then they have everything that you want and the price is still affordable. But if they don't, then that's a place where you can actually be like, yeah, Microsoft might surge based on those options price-wise.
I think so. They might come out on top, if Sony isn't going to have some sort of like payment plan or subscription model, as phones do for their PlayStation 5. I know when I put up my donation goal for a PlayStation 5, it was at $600, and people were like, the PS5 isn't going to cost that much. And I'm like, I think it's going to be $499, but as you said, plus taxes, plus shipping probably as well. And like, I think minus PayPal fees, it's probably going to be that much. And that's not even with a game. Like I still have to get a game. I think the console comes with one controller, but I would have to, pay more for another controller and taxes on that. Taxes are very high in California.
Yes, yes they are.
So it is a big cost. And if these games are going to be $70, it is going to be a lot more approachable for consumers to maybe pay $25, $35 a month. And also, maybe another $10 on top of that for a subscription service with games, if it's not going to be included like it is for Xbox. Yeah. I think that is much better than, throwing up $700 right off the bat. 100%.
I would say that the monthly subscription to a next-gen console will draw in more sales for the holiday season, and will also draw in more sales for accessories and games, because those are not going to be in that option. So that is where that model, and we have to wait. Obviously, Sony's going to make an announcement sometime here in the next couple of weeks is what's being expected. We have to wait and see what they're going to do. They could be just super confident in their technology and like, hey, we've already been doing so well. We know what we want for our numbers, and we know what we're not willing to offer. It could come off that way, but with everything they've done in the past, I would imagine they do something to even attempt to undercut Xbox or just accept the loss as they already have.
Right. I think they're probably going to be banking on the fact that they might have more value, with the Miles Morales game and Ratchet and Clank and some really great exclusives that they have, I think is a great selling point. I'm surprised that I seldom hear about the PSVR unless I'm looking for it. I don't know if maybe just my Twitter feed isn't VR focused enough, but I don't know why they don't, kind of attach that on to say hey, if you don't have a strong PC to run VR, we've got you totally covered.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's the area for Sony for me that seems most unknown is what are they looking at here? Do they want to take the approach like Valve took when they came out with their headset? Not many people are going to jump in right away, but the people who are going to jump in are going to be the ones that don't really bat an eye at those costs. or is it going to be a consumer-friendly approach? Because it does sound like, and we know we heard Phil Spencer say it, and I think Cerny and others at Sony were saying it as well, is they want people to transition sooner to the next gen rather than later, because so much of the focus is going into designing games for next gen because of what it actually allows them to be able to do. They don't really want people in the past anymore.
They don't, and I think a lot of people are generally excited to move over to the next gen. I haven't heard of a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'll get a PS5, but probably when the price drops. I haven't really heard that. You know, maybe those people are out there, but they're not very vocal. Whereas, you know, with a lot of other devices or new phones, people are often talking about the price drop before they get into those. But with next gen, I think people are ready. People have been waiting. And I think in the pandemic, a lot of people, they want something to look forward to.
Yeah. To Crow's question, something that is very much the strength of Microsoft is the Games Pass. Now, it was reported that the PC version of the Games Pass is moving out of beta, so that price is actually going to increase to have Games Pass on PC. However, Sony's feature that they have is the PlayStation Now service. It's supposedly getting revamped and is going to be a very fluid experience on the PlayStation 5, which is probably going to be something that draws more people in. So I do think there will be competition. It's just not as strong as Game Pass right now. We're just gonna have to see when that the PlayStation 5 drops and how well it does with consumers.
I also was gonna say, I think the Xbox Series X coming out at $299 it's gonna be a huge seller to be able to get, you know, next gen hardware at $299 only. You know, even though it's not as robust as the Series X, I think it is totally powerful enough, especially when you compare it to, you know, gaming PC.
Yeah.
So many people are like, PC master race, but I'm also like, do you know how many things are plugged into my PC? There's so many wires, and there's all my USB slots are totally filled up, and there's this whole production.
You gotta buy extras if you need more USB slots.
You know? And I've got this whole monitor set up and all this stuff versus just an Xbox Series X, you can just plug into your TV, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I think the Series X is going to be Series S is going to be a big seller.
I do too. I wouldn't be surprised if that's under most lists for holiday season of want to buy this for myself, significant other, for my children. It is the right price point. It is a next-gen console. It is going to deliver what people are looking forward to. And knowing after what we've heard from the Ubisoft Forward, as well as other events recently, there's a lot of games that are still slated for that beginning November release date when the Series S drops, which is November 10th. And it is expected that PlayStation 5 is probably going to be available right around that same time.
And we were also supposed to hear, I saw some articles hinting to a big PlayStation 5 announcement today, which hasn't happened yet, but a lot of people are looking forward to more news from PlayStation 5. Apparently there's something that was supposed to be announced, you know, earlier this morning, but we haven't heard anything. I don't know if PlayStation is just, you know, getting all their ducks in a row first before saying anything. But since there's a lot of hype around Xbox, you know that PlayStation has a counter. For sure. And to Phoenix's question, the rumor surrounding Splinter Cell is very much one that a lot of people have been reporting and saying that with everything that they've been doing with regards to Sam Fisher, it is that there is going to be an announcement. I don't think that announcement was made at the Ubisoft Forward event, but there was one that was shown off, which people were also hyped about, which is the Prince of Persia remake, which we also reported on DGN a few weeks ago. So, and I just looked over because I was going to switch us over there. The live stream did end. So anything at Ubisoft Forward will probably be covered tomorrow, a little bit right before our interview with Micah Jones for Quantum Error. And regarding Sam Fisher, you know, Ubisoft did announce that Sam Fisher is coming to Rainbow Six Siege as a new operator.
And his show.
And what did you say?
The animated show?
What do you mean the animated show? Oh, there's also an animated show. Yes.
Yeah.
So he will be in Rainbow Six Siege, and there's also an animated show, I believe, but there is no word of, you know, a standalone Splinter Cell game, which I don't know why, because if they're going to add him as a new operator, I feel like why doesn't he have his own game if you know that people already like him? Yeah, absolutely. I'm expecting to hear it anytime soon. I thought Forward was going to be the place where it was announced. It could be something that's mentioned in a post interview or whatever. And we'll be digging through that footage afterwards. But our next conversation is one actually in line with the one we were just having now regarding the Xbox Series X and talking about a title that is dominating for Microsoft, which is Microsoft's Flight Simulator. So Microsoft Flight Simulator will be just as awesome on Xbox, if not better, says a developer, as it had a very strong launch, registering over 1 million unique players and allowing Microsoft to boast that it was the biggest launch on Games Pass for PC to date. However, the game is also confirmed to be coming to Xbox consoles, and Xbox fans have been wondering how it will stack against the PC version that's already available.
So speaking to Gaming Bolt, the head of Microsoft's Flight Simulator, Jorge Newman, reassured fans that the game will be just as awesome, if not better, in some aspects.
Newman stated, "We are very confident that the simulator will be just as amazing on Xbox as it is on PC. Some things might even be better. Regarding the controller, our intent is to deliver a great experience using any controls you already have, so you can enjoy the experience with a gamepad as well as a mouse and keyboard. We'll have more to share with you about the Xbox version of the simulator closer to launch."
And honestly, that's a lofty promise for sure. After all, Microsoft's Flight Simulator is already fantastic as it is right now. Some places are just across the board giving it perfect scores.
So one statement says, "Microsoft Flight Simulator is a marvelous use of technology to create one of the most wonderful and spectacular looking games I've ever played. Never a proponent of realism, it simply works here thanks to thousands of handcrafted buildings, as well as certain exceptionally detailed cities, planes, and airports, giving you something that is a sheer joy to explore."
Goes on to say that this attention to detail, and as some people are commenting in the chat, like Kai saying, so realistic, it actually is going to expand to the controls of the plane, though Asobo ensured it's accessible through easy-to-use Xbox controller functions, so that you shouldn't worry. Once you are past that learning curve, which will be there, the full functions of the planes are at your disposal, and there's little that can be said other than this is as close to perfect as could be hoped.
There are some very slight issues, such as long loading times expected due to what is being loaded, which is a lot, since every square inch of the Earth is accessible. So we would say that it's worth the wait, particularly thanks to the number of options at your disposal in the game. And there's no doubt in a lot of reviewers' minds that this is going to be a platform that will last very long into the future.
Yeah, as we can already see, the popularity of Microsoft's Flight Simulator is from that feature just discussed about why you would have long loading times is you get to explore the whole world. You even have people who are chasing hurricanes that are happening right now. I mean, it is breathtaking that they have captured this, I don't want to say like alternate reality that is our own and just takes place from the space of flying these planes.
I've been seeing that some people have been flying into the smoke. I guess in the game, there's been the smoke from the fires that has been coming up, so people are flying into those too. Looking out my window, the sky is increasingly turning orange, which I'm not really confident.
Me neither.
About SF has been looking pretty bad. If anyone has any friends in SF or up in NorCal right now, but I think that Microsoft Flight Simulator has been doing a fantastic job. I think it's great that it's going to be coming over to Xbox. I would also be concerned because this has been described as a pretty monster game, a pretty big file, lots of a very heavy loading time. So if this is going to be a game for the Xbox Series X, I trust that machine to handle this pretty well. Yeah,
they're either going to optimize it so that it does, or the machine itself just will, and that's something to take in consideration too. If you think about it, you could have the $300 Xbox Series S or the $399, $400 Xbox Series X, and just paying the $100 more gives you an experience that the gaming PC you need to require to play that game at its full optimization is double, if not triple, that cost.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's going to be, a powerful machine. I think it's going to be no problem on next gen. I love the memes where a lot of, next gen people are going to be like, oh, well, like my Xbox can run this. And a PC Master Racer is like, well, my $3,000 computer can also run it. And it's like, what a price difference here.
It really is. And this is where I think Microsoft has positioned themselves to gain a lot of traction from people who have either been on the cusp of I'm saving up to buy a new gaming PC, or I'm taking a look at next gen and just what you're gonna have access to on launch day, and knowing you're gonna have access to something like Microsoft's Flight Simulator. What's next for them to announce? Also gonna have these games to have access to play on your $400 console. That is like you say, in comparison of like a PC cost, you're nowhere near the cost, even half the cost of that PC.
Not at all. And I wonder how consumers are perceiving it. Like for us, we're very, plugged into all of what's happening. Everyone in the chat as well, knows what's going on with next gen. But I wonder if a lot of consumers who don't really maybe know about the specs, don't know what teraflops are, don't really care about, the SSD. They just want like a good console. I wonder, if they also see the value in the Xbox Series X, if they are going to be willing to pay that much for a new console. I would say that it seems like a pretty fair price, and I'm honestly a bit surprised that these consoles aren't more expensive. Even though we predicted what the price was going to be, I wasn't going to be surprised if they were like, oh yeah, they're actually $600 machines.
Yeah, that is so true. And knowing that they're operating at a loss and just accepting that is something to be said for what they are willing to do in order to get more consumers to transfer over to the new hardware, which is also really interesting too, because our next story swirls around new hardware as well, which is a rumor. We're likely to hear this confirmed pretty soon because these rumors are constantly popping up now. But it is rumored that Nintendo is asking developers to make their Switch games 4K ready.
So an upgraded Switch model has been rumored to be in the works for quite some time. We've been bringing it up every now and then, but the Japanese company has yet to confirm if this new console is indeed in the works. Again, there's no confirmation from Nintendo about the next Switch. A new report, however, suggests that things could be farther along than anticipated.
Yeah, so a reporter out of Bloomberg was one among the first ones to talk about the Nintendo Switch Lite before the official announcement, and recently revealed in a new report that Nintendo is asking their developers to make their Switch games 4K ready, suggesting that this upgraded model we've been rumored to hear is indeed going to support 4K resolution.
So apparently several outside game developers, speaking anonymously as the issue is private, said that Nintendo had asked them to make their games 4K ready, suggesting a resolution upgrade is on its way.
So according to another article, it actually seems like Nintendo only looked into including more computing power and 4K resolution support in this rumored upgraded Nintendo Switch. So what has been revealed today does actually sound pretty much like a confirmation.
Another statement said the specifications of the new machine have yet to be finalized, although Nintendo has looked into including more computing power in 4K high-definition graphics. People briefed on the strategy told Bloomberg News, asking not to be identified because it is private. So it seems, with these rumors of the next Switch, it's only going to be about 4K and a little bit more computing power. So
however that upgraded Switch model will be able to support the 4K resolution properly is anyone's guess at this point. There's a chance that it will be able to do so thanks to DLSS 2.0 support. There was a job ad that surfaced online back in July that revealed that NVIDIA was looking for a senior embedded software engineer for the Tegra team to work on next-gen graphics and AI technologies for gaming consoles and AI edge devices, as well as on solutions to use artificial intelligence in graphics technologies like that DLSS 2.0.
I'm honestly surprised that there even are rumors about Nintendo because Nintendo is so tight-lipped. They have everything under wraps. When the pandemic hit, a lot of countries, in the US or, a lot of Western nations just went online. But Nintendo was saying that, no, our execs need to meet in person. That's essential part of how we operate our business, especially because, of NDAs and it's so easy to hack things. And they the way they do business is they meet in person. So I'm really surprised that there are even rumors about this. I would be surprised if they're true. And I also hope they're not true because I personally want more things from a next-gen Switch, not just more computing power and 4K resolution. I would also want, maybe higher quality Joy-Cons. Maybe there's like a Pro Joy-Con that you can add on there and better Wi-Fi. Please. Someone in the chat said a better battery. I wonder if maybe this is a deliberate choice by Nintendo because they don't want the Nintendo Switch to be like some monster console. It's just supposed to be kind of a handheld.
Yeah, you actually mentioned something that I was going to throw in. It's not too much to jump into, but there was supposedly a patent that was discovered that is a standalone Joy-Con, like a Pro Joy-Con controller. That it's not one that's attached to the hardware the way we see them, and that those are supposed to be that upgraded version of the Joy-Con. Whether that's true or not, of course, we're yet to know and see. I would say I do agree with you that more than just the 4K and just the upgrading computing power. They need to figure out a way to draw people over to the Switch in comparison to, especially now, like we said, the price point for the Xbox Series S is what is it about your handheld mobile device that is going to justify people wanting to spend on the new version if it indeed is new?
Right. I don't hear from a lot of people being like, oh, I wish I've heard like, casual things of like, oh, I wish, the Switch had better graphics, but
right.
I don't think that's the main point that people want to see. People aren't like, oh, the Switch games aren't robust enough. I think people are pretty happy with, Switch games being a little more arcadey generally. They're not as, keyboard mashing.
Yeah.
And I think it would just be a strange move because the most complaints I've heard are about the Wi-Fi, are about the Joy-Cons. And it seems like that's not going to be addressed. It would be nice to have a longer battery life, especially because there technically already are rumored, unofficial rumors of 2 versions of the Switch. Apparently, if you got a Switch when I did, which was, I don't know, a year and a half ago, something like that, the battery life is a lot shorter than there was a point in time where the newer Switches had a longer battery life, but it was kind of a quiet thing that Nintendo just started selling these upgraded battery Switches, but didn't officially say it was a newer model.
Right, and that's where like I love Ludicy's comment. Need a Switch Pro. That's where a lot of people are. They have that stance. If you're telling me I'm going to get the same mobile gaming experience, but upgraded in terms of visuals, upgraded in terms of internet connection, upgraded in terms of Joy-Cons, like it's just across the board. Yeah, the 360 of the Nintendo Switch, then you're going to see people going, yeah, maybe I'll actually hold off and just go and grab a Switch instead of jumping over into these, Microsoft or Sony wars. But then again, it's like, because they're so tight-lipped about everything and knowing that right now the conversation with next-gen hardware has only been Microsoft and has only been Sony officially, I think Nintendo would be in a place to present themselves as bringing out next-gen hardware and start to drum up more conversation about who do you actually want to go with when you need to, decide on which name you want to invest in.
Right. Nintendo, is a big power player in the console scene. They've been separate from, Xbox and Sony, and that people, will buy a Switch and also one of those consoles are not really they're in competition, but it's not quite nearly as direct. And a lot of people are going to be wondering, what console they're going to buy. There was just a Fortnite, version of the Switch that was released with like a little battle bus on the home button. And it was really cool, but it kind of felt like, oh, the Switch is more of a toy, versus these consoles are more like gaming machines. And it seems like they are trying to sell themselves as a toy in some aspects, but at the same time, they're also, porting in games like The Witcher 3 or, a lot more powerful games onto the Switch. And so I'm kind of thinking like, do you want your Switch to be robust, or are you trying to be in, a lower, lower price point, lower graphic point market there, because that has been their strength. In the chat, someone has said that smartphones are far more powerful than the Switch already. I realize that smartphones are very powerful, but I hate gaming on a smartphone. I love playing on my Switch. So I do think that maybe even if you could play, more powerful games on your smartphone, potentially, I still think that the Switch does add a lot of value.
I would also say, since we're talking about rumors, if that rumored PSP is true, that PlayStation's going to drop its mobile competitor in gaming, Nintendo has to do something in terms of its response hardware-wise, because Sony is going to deliver something that is going to... I think the PSP was a little bit before its time, and it had a little bit of a setback because of what they had to use for the games in the first place, that UMD style of playing your portable games. So if Sony's coming out the gate at some point with this PlayStation Portable announcement, Nintendo can't wait on announcing we've got a next-gen hardware too. Because then I think it'll kind of become like, not that Nintendo will be forgotten, but just that people won't take the Switch name as this status of technology that should be respected when all of these other technologies are coming out showing me far superior hardware.
Right. The Switch doesn't really have a lot of competition. So they have been, a big player. A lot of people are buying Switches because there isn't really another handheld that you can turn to that's comparable. Waffle says my old roommate loved his PSP. I know so many people
I
that
do too.
really
I love
love
mine.
their PSP.
I should have never gotten rid of mine. I should have. I think about it all the time. I think about it all the time. Oh my God.
And the only maybe competitor is mobile gaming, but as Meg says, you don't like playing games on a phone. I hate it. I don't like the touchscreen stuff. I don't like adding attachments to my phone. I don't want to be getting like calls and texts while I'm playing a game.
Yes.
But I also don't want to put my phone on airplane mode in case I need something. So I think I use my phone as like a totally separate thing from what I'd want to play games on. And I think a lot of, gamers do really like their handhelds. But as you said, the Switch is cool, but it's not top of the line. And it's, I don't think it should be, the end all be all of handhelds right now, because as you said, a lot of the technology just isn't really there, and there should be some competition. There should be.
And I think we're looking forward to that. And by the way, to some of those who are new, and you see people in the chat throwing in these guesses of these what's in the mug. I forgot we didn't announce that at the very beginning of the stream, but we do have this what's in the mug guessing game that happens with those in the chat and trying to figure out what we have. And mine hasn't been called yet. At least I'm pretty sure I haven't seen anybody say what it is just yet.
And mine has been partly guessed is coffee. It is a new flavor.
Ooh.
So
there we go. Hey, we did get some information from Ubisoft Forward that we can present to you now. And this is a game that we did talk about because there was excitement about this title, but it does look like it's confirmed that Skull and Bones, the pirate game that we know of and have heard about since 2018, is back in production in full swing with a new vision.
So the seafaring pirate adventure Skull and Bones, which is very highly anticipated, is still very much in the works. Thank God, because I was worried that, it's just kind of forgotten about. With Ubisoft Singapore creative director Elizabeth Pellin confirming that production has been in full swing with a new vision.
So this news came in a post on Ubisoft's official website where Pellin stated that Skull and Bones won't be making any appearances during Ubisoft Forward's showcase, which did happen today. While we won't be seeing any swashbuckling or ship sinking just yet, Ubisoft did confirm its plans to present Skull and Bones sometime in the future with assurance that it will be worth the wait.
It was also addressed why the launch of the game had to be postponed, citing that the development team simply needed more time.
So they went on to say that we dreamt something bigger for Skull and Bones, and these ambitions naturally came with bigger challenges. These difficulties resulted in necessary delays for our game. Critical questions needed to be addressed over the past several months, such as how do we modernize the classic pirate fantasy? How do we ensure a more immersive and visceral experience? How do we create cool and memorable moments in game? And for most of these questions to be answered, it was clear that we just needed more development time.
The reboot was first announced back in 2017 during E3, and recently updates about the game have been relatively quiet, with the exception of news that emerged suggesting that Skull and Bones is reportedly going in a new direction that's more akin to a blend of Fortnite and Sea of Thieves.
While this still hasn't been confirmed, this latest update about the game's development does state that it has evolved from its original idea to what it is now, with new team members joining joining the project to bring the game to life. What will shape up to be remains to be seen, but with its delays, it's looking more and more likely that we'll actually see it end up on the next gen Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, and probably as the current gens as well.
Pellin writes, "We're proud of the work we've done, and we hope you will be too when you see more of Skull and Bones at our comeback next. Until then, on behalf of everyone in the Skull and Bones team around the world, keep safe, and we will see again soon." I love how the chat is going, whoa, what's happening here? I wonder if this new, Fortnite-like direction and Sea of Thieves direction is going to be great, because a lot of people just did like, what you said. They liked Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and they liked the ship play there. Yeah. And I don't want that to be lost, but I do want, the fun of Fortnite and Sea of Thieves to be there.
Yeah, and that comment in chat, which was kind of like it was upset. I think it was Ludacy who said it, was saying, I was sad before when all you did was command the ship and watch your guys board other ships. And for me, I was like, why isn't this that third-person pirate experience? You have the first-person one with Sea of Thieves. This should be the third-person one like Black Flag. The new hardware is probably going to allow that to be possible, and it not just be this ship see, pirate ship simulator, where you actually can jump with your friends on a boat and go jump onto the other boats and get into like these fights that'll be a little similar to the combat that you would see in like a what is it, For Honor. However they're going to do the sword play and the gun play is important, while maintaining the integrity of that Black Flag ship battles that people grew to love.
I never played Black Flag, but I did play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I thought the way that you board ships there was pretty cool, where you do a certain amount of damage, and then you can board them, and your AI crew jumps on, but you also get to be on there, and you can go right for the captain if you want, and then you can loot them, and you can, I think you can throw people overboard, and, you can be really brutal. And if there is an aspect of Fortnite where maybe, as you said, you can party up with your friends, you can all go together, you can have different strategies, like maybe you have a fleet, you can direct other ships and where they want to go, I think would be killer. I also would want to see more of maybe like a campaign or a lot of missions. Maybe I don't know if I need a storyline aspect, but why I didn't really get into Sea of Thieves was because it was so open-ended. And when the game's like, okay, do whatever you want, I'm like, I don't know. Like I need a mission, I need a story, or I need something guiding me. And I think Sea of Thieves has kind of improved in that sense.
100%.
Yeah, I've heard that they made a lot of updates and changes, but I hope that there is, a lot of that, or a lot of lore, in the Skull and Bones world.
Yes, that is a strong observation there, because the beginning of Sea of Thieves was rough. There wasn't much for players to sink their teeth into once you got most of what the world was. They did a lot of world building, and that's why the game turned around in like 2 years' time and became just like one of the, it's still like one of the top 5 streamed games. Obviously there's more competition in streaming now, but it is still very popular, and their focus on content creation has been very strong for them. So if Ubisoft says, hey, we've got the code to challenge this pirate game, because there isn't another pirate game out there to stand up against Sea of Thieves, and right now it's okay to be number 2 in the conversation of a very solo genre of gaming. That Ubisoft would be in a strong position to live up to these words they've just said. And the next-gen hardware, as we know of, would allow them to be able to execute most of these ideas we're speculating on.
That's a great point, that there is only one pirate game right now. Like that's it. Maybe there's another. I haven't heard of it. It doesn't have nearly as big of a player base. The Crow Show says when they introduced the Battle Arena in Sea of Thieves, you feel like PvP died in the regular game and you haven't played since then. I wonder if that's happened to a lot of people as well. I remember I played the Pirates of the Caribbean game on PC. I think it was an MMO, and my computer couldn't run it, but I heard it wasn't that great. But I really like pirate games. I think there's a lot of demand for pirate games, and if you don't like Sea of Thieves, then you're out of luck. Like, oh well, there's nothing you can play.
Exactly.
I think that's a good point. Even if this game Skull and Bones comes out and it doesn't compare to Sea of Thieves, which I think it's going to be great, but even if it doesn't, I think that there's still a huge opportunity for success as being only like the second pirate game that you can play right now.
100%. That's a very, very strong observation. So we will, of course, be keeping our eye on Skull and Bones, because there's a lot of hype on DGN for that game to hopefully deliver. Our next story is one that's really interesting, as EA Sports had to come out and apologize after fans decry ads in the UFC video game.
So this news we pulled from the Washington Post, which I personally love when gaming articles are in like the Washington Post, like NPR, like BBC, the UN, I don't know. I think it's just very cool to see. So EA Sports has apologized for putting in-game advertisements into the recently released UFC 4 after the latest update's excessive pop-ups prompted a wave of outrage.
So that controversy began Friday with a Reddit post by user Ydino, who said while showing gameplay, he was being bombarded by ads for the Amazon show The Boys. A pop-up ad appeared before and after a replay, followed soon after by another one at the bottom of the screen.
While intrusive, unskippable advertisements can be common in free-to-play games, users pointed to UFC's $60 price tag as reason enough that they should not have their gameplay interrupted by ads, especially when there are already some present via in-game signage.
So on Reddit, one user said that that's what makes it particularly insulting. They squeezed so many ads into the ring itself, and they could probably get away with that no problem because real-life boxing rings have ads all over them, but it still felt like they needed to have these pop-up ads on the screens as well as in-game people who paid full price for these games.
I think this is is wild. And like my first thought was like, is this real? In a game that you buy, you had to watch an unskippable ad? Really?
That I would be livid just like all of these folks. I'd be so mad.
So these poster sentiments were echoed in thousands of comments on the initial Reddit post. By Saturday, EA Sports posted a statement in reply saying, earlier this week, the team turned on ad placements in EA Sports UFC 4 that appeared during the replay moments in gameplay, a spokesperson posted on Reddit. They continued to write, this type of advertising inventory is not new to the UFC franchise, though we have typically reserved displaying ads to specific main menu titles or Octagon logo placement. It is abundantly clear from your feedback that integrating ads into the replay and overlay experience is not welcome.
They went on to say this, that the advertisements have been disabled by the team, and we apologize for any disruption to gameplay that players may have experienced. We realize that this should have been communicated with players ahead of time, and that's on us. We want to make sure our players have the best possible experience playing EA Sports UFC 4, so ad integration and replay and overlay experience will not be reappearing in the future.
Earlier this summer, the Wall Street Journal reported that Warner Media and the credit reporting company Experian had been testing advertisements in UFC 3, an earlier iteration of the game. I think this move was just such a big yikes, and I'm glad they pulled it.
Yeah, same. Good on the outcry for this and calling it out, and the flurry of comments from others who are like, I paid for this game. You are not putting ads in front of my face that I have to wait for. As someone was saying, it's not free to play. If it was free to play, it'd be a different conversation. You'd be like, yeah, okay, I understand. But in this regard, you pay $65 for this, and they're like, you guys got to watch these ads. You're like, no.
And whenever I see posts like this, people on Twitter are like half jokingly saying cyberbullying works, which I don't cyberbully anyone, but this does show that if you are mad about something like this and you post on Reddit, you help add to the conversation, like that can make a change to some of these companies. Obviously, don't spam it. Don't do that thing that a lot of users did to that game on Metacritic to give it like a 0.3%
review bomb
for Madden. Yeah, don't like review bomb or anything like that. But I think it's okay to say like, I don't enjoy this experience, especially after paying $60 for this game.
Exactly. Well, our next story with regard to Twitch, as we are streaming on here, is that Ninja is back on Twitch and is exclusive to Twitch.
So after a months-long period of will he or won't he, with two determined suitors, Twitch and YouTube, streaming megastar Tyler Ninja Fortnite Blevins has announced that this post-Mixer streaming return will happen only on Twitch.
Did that officially become his middle name, like on his ID?
I've been seeing that a lot. People are like, oh, Fortnite Ninja Blevins.
Got it. Cool. So he made the announcement on Twitter today with a tweet and a brief trailer, and this was it. His sentence said, a new chapter only on Twitch.
And the trailer is like 10 seconds and he just like looks to the camera. That's it. That's all that happens. You can look it up if you want, but we don't have to do a trailer react. So last year, Blevins signed an exclusive deal with Microsoft-owned streaming platform Mixer. In June, Microsoft abruptly announced that Mixer had reached the end of the line and encouraged streamers and viewers to move over to Facebook instead, which was a terrible day.
Oh, yes.
Blevins was reportedly offered a Facebook deal that nearly doubled his multi-million-dollar Mixer deal, which is insane, but he turned it down. And now months later, here we are back where he started, right on Twitch.
Yeah, I would say that after last month, we know that Mixer star that turned, Twitch star that turned Mixer star that turned Twitch star again, which was Shroud, made his big Twitch return by pulling in 500,000 concurrent viewers. So whatever happens, Blevins' return might be even bigger. And you said you jumped into the stream and you saw about how many people at one point?
Right now there's 81,000, but earlier there was like 115,000, somewhere around there.
And I remember that number is big. I'm not going to lie. That's a huge number. But when Dr. Disrespect did his debut on YouTube, he pushed
300.
Yeah, he pushed near 500.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it got that high.
It got really high at one point because I was curious. I was like, let's see how this is. I think everybody was like, are you going to talk about the ban? You're going to talk about the ban? You're going to talk about the ban? Already came on and didn't talk about the ban. So that's, something I find interesting. But this is good for Twitch, obviously, that they get an individual who grew, who definitely helped shape the platform's recognition. So they get that individual back and an exclusive to Twitch. So it looks like we're going to be seeing more Ninja ads coming up here in the future, I bet.
Oh my God, the ninja ads that happen on streamer streams. I am really curious as to how hard he is going to gun to stay being the top dog in the streaming world, because for a while, after the big Fortnite boom, Ninja was streaming on Twitch, but he wasn't getting a lot of viewers, or he was still getting a lot of viewers compared to everyone else. But, compared to his own stats, like he wasn't, pulling in crazy big numbers all the time. And I was wondering, if he is just kind of lost the drive. I mean, he's already made it. He doesn't really need to, be hustling all the time, grinding all the time. But I wonder if he's going to be streaming a lot, or if he's just going to be kind of doing minimum hours while, he appears on other things or makes other brand deals.
That's true. We're going to have to just, wait and see. I see someone was mentioning there in the chat that YouTube's more approachable or Guff was saying that YouTube's more approachable for people who aren't into watching streams. That's true. A lot of people just sit on YouTube at home on their consoles or on their Rokus or their Apple TVs, and they're just sitting there, and you see who's live, and you're like, hey, I'll check this out or whatever.
Right.
It's much easier than the Twitch way of getting into to watching content. But I would say if he is, as Ludacy was saying, if he is going to switch to more of that mature audience, then we'll have to see what that does to his brand, because his brand has kind of like put himself in this place of a younger audience to favor his content.
It does. Also, what's up, Princess Looney Tunes? Yo.
What's up, Princess Looney Tunes?
What's up? Yeah, someone says, I think he's tired of family-friendly kid entertainment. I've definitely, seen some rumors or just observations, hearsay, nothing from, Ninja or his team himself, that, he hates his chat, or, his chat, maybe it used to be so toxic, but now maybe it's too, Fortnite-y.
Yeah.
And, that I think it's a weird balance of when you become a big enough streamer, are you still community building in the way that a lot of smaller streamers do? If the chat is going so fast, I just actually accidentally clicked on the tab that I have open for him, thinking it was the DGN page, and I was like, what's happening here? You can't really interact with that.
No.
I really wonder how it's going to continue, if he's still going to be associated with Fortnite and memes, or if he's going to transcend that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful observation, obviously, from somebody who's been streaming for quite some time and understands the complexity that is when you are a popular streamer. But before the hour ends for DGN, and it is Thursday, we always know that this is when we do our On This Day in Gaming throwback. And guys, on this day in gaming, Battlefield 1942 released on PC.
It was released September 10th, 2002 for Microsoft Windows and Mac OS X. And I never played this game, but Marrone has got a lot to say. I know it.
So I just want to put this out there that Battlefield 1942 was the first experience for me into an online shooter as big and as massive and as entertaining as Battlefield was. One of the other things that I thought was amazing from Battlefield 1942 was that the modern combat versions of the Battlefield game came from this modded crew that made this mod. I think it was called Advanced Combat on Battlefield 1942, and that they got absorbed, their mod got taken, and then the iteration of the modern combat games started to happen because they saw so much interest from it. Battlefield 1942 has so many fond memories for me.
This game is legendary. I've heard so much about it. It has over 680,000 copies sold, totaling 27.1 million, soon after its launch. And as you said, since its release, there have been a lot of different, iterations of this game. It's still, it's still doing really well. It
really is. And this is one of those games, too, that I will say, I think people have wondered if they'll ever do a real re-envisioning of Battlefield 1942. Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 were supposed to kind of be that, but it wasn't that. There's a lot in the Battlefield series now that as I look at Battlefield 1942 that I say, I actually hope they find a way to take all the best elements from their games and wrap it up into one. And maybe what would be the strongest thing for Battlefield at this point is going back to Bad Company. I don't know if any of you remember Bad Company or played Bad Company, but I would say that Battlefield 1942, the experience of playing that and loving that was really magnified when I got to Bad Company's version of the game. And the other titles in between that journey from Battlefield 1942 to Bad Company didn't seem to hook me the same way. And I'm still kind of left longing for more from the Battlefield series.
I hope we get more updates. I think the last we heard was Battlefield 5. They're also not in. They like switch numbers, don't they? It's not all consecutive. There's like something weird happening.
There was a Battlefield 2142, which was like a futuristic shooter. Then there was Battlefield 1941. Then I think there was Battlefield 1945. Then there was like Battlefield 1. Then you had Battlefield 2. Then you had Battlefield Modern Combat. Then you had Battlefield 5. Then you like they started to make it just one of those things that you were like, are you guys Microsoft with your naming things here? Because this is way too confusing.
I love it. But that does bring us to the end of our daily gaming news for today. It is now 2 p.m., so we'll be running reruns after this. But tomorrow is a huge day as we are interviewing Micah Jones from Quantum Error on our show. So make sure to come in tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Micah's going to come on about 1:15 p.m. He's going to be talking about the game Quantum Error, which is a next-gen survival horror game that we got to watch and check out some gameplay, and we were blown away by it. And we're excited to talk about what it's like developing Quantum Error, how it's going for Team Kill Media, and what it's going to be like for next-gen consoles, especially with these development processes that we've heard are expediting the time to create games. So if there is any show that you're going to miss for DGN, it is not tomorrow. Do not miss tomorrow. As regards to what's in the mug, I had butterscotch toffee coffee, but I would have accepted either of, if someone guessed one of those, I would have given them the point, but I don't think anyone got it today. And I don't know if anybody guessed just black coffee, because I came in for just the strong black coffee for Marrone in the mug, because I'm going to be streaming here in a little bit. I'm going to play some... Gonna play some Warzone. So on my own account, if you guys want to come in and say what's up, watch me play some Warzone, then come check me out. Everyone check out twitch.tv/Marrone__. Right there is not the link. We'll pull up the link for you. Marrone's going to be streaming later. Catch those Warzone plays. Yeah, it'll be about, I want to say like 30 minutes, then I'll be there. But make sure to tune in tomorrow because we are super hyped about that interview. And then also for anybody watching this on VOD, checking out our YouTube channel, thank you so much to all the DGN family and everybody that adds so many just amazing comments and questions and layers to the DGN hour. We can't do this without you. We appreciate you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, we are trying to do more interviews. So if you or anyone you know is a game developer or works in gaming or maybe has someone that you can refer, please let us know. Reach out to either Marrone and we can see if we can get them on the show. Absolutely. We'd love to get more developers or individuals in the gaming industry on the DGN hour and just have wonderful conversations and learn more about them and what it is they're working on. But for today, for Daily Gaming News this September 10th, I am Kaisa. I am Marrone, and we will see you all next time. See ya.